moving on to our next topic. The next two articles I'm going to read will take place about the Korean elections that happened yesterday. First, we'll talk about the winning results and what that means, and then later I will go into who can run for office and how they got in and what you think about it. So, let's get into this. South Korean voters seeing given President Moon Jae-hee the in-party control of the parliament in an election that took place amid a pandemic. It produced a huge turnout, was projected to rise to the highest level in 28 years. Actually, it's interesting. Compared to America, the South Koreans in general have a very high voter turnout. Early counts and exit polls resulting suggested dominance of ruling in the Democratic Party on the back of the successful flandering of the bug outbreak in comparison to the other countries struggling with mounting death tolls. There was something like expectation that if we work hard, we can overcome the economic crisis too. Democratic Party floor leader Rep. Lee In-young said after the exit poll results are announced, saying that the government has proven itself in dealing with the outbreak in Korea. I assess it as there being a desire to allow the ruling party to lead and stable run state affairs in these extraordinary times. Okay, and just for your information, the Democratic Party is more online in Korea with the U.S. Democratic Party. Like I know in Europe, they're kind of opposite. But in Korea, they're more aligned with the U.S. At 10:50 p.m., with 49.7% of votes counted, the Democratic Party was leading in 150 counties, and the United Future Party in 95 candidates. With no party affiliation, were leading in the 5 districts, and the data from 3 districts were being updated. By region, the ruling party appeared to be dominating Seoul, with its candidates leading in 38 of the city's 49 constituencies. The situation was similar in Gyeonggi province, with 43 of 60 districts being led by the Democratic Party candidates. The Democratic Party was also set to take nearly all the seats in the Jeolla province in Gwangju, which had previously chosen the defunct People's Party over the ruling party. When they mean defunct, they're talking about President Park, the one that they threw in jail, and President Lee before that. He was in jail too. The Citizens Party, the ruling party's satellite party, was expected to take 17 propositional seats, giving the ruling bloc at least half of the 300-seat parliament. Now, the Citizens Party is kind of unique. Korea, in general, is not really a two-party system. They can have as many as they want. When they're talking about this party, this is a third party, and there was some, online internet Google Mongol, not Google, but entrepreneur for online marketing, and he ran against President Moon during the presidential election a few years ago. He didn't win, but that's his party. The main opposition was leading only in traditionally coronavirus areas: Busan, Daegu, Ulsan, and North and South Gyeonggi province. Combined with the 19 provincial representative seats projected by exit polls for its satellite party, Future Korea Party, the conservative opposition was expected to gain 114 seats. These two parties currently hold 112 seats. So keep in mind there's 300 total seats in the whole parliament, and they have 112, so that's like 1/3. Now, I'm going to move on to the second article I want to read. Okay, this article is about 2 in the winters. The two North Korean defectors actually won. One of them was the recent guy that was a year or two ago. He was the one in Europe. I think it was actually UK. We'll read. He defected as he was the ambassador. And so let's get into this because what I want you to think about while we're reading this article is how would you feel? Well, first, what should you have to do to run for office in your country? Who should be able to run? And do you think it's okay for people who are not citizens to run for office? And how high of office can they run? And we'll share about that later after I read this article. The 21st National Assembly will have 2 members originally from North Korea who have been vocal about their native country's dictatorship and human rights abuse. One of them is Ta Hee-min, better known here by his North Korean name, the Yong-hoo, who became the first defector to be directly elected in the South Korean's municipal parliament. Running on the ticket of the conservative opposition United Future Party, the former North Korean diplomat who settled down here 4 years ago garnered 58% of the vote in a constituent Seoul's affiliate Gangnam distance, like Gangnam style, like the Psy song. South Korea is my homeland and Gangnam is my hometown. Thierry T said after victory became certain in the early hours of Thursday. After 70 years of separation between the 2 Koreas, no North Korean was elected in a constituency seat. I think this is the first step to reconciliation and harmony between the people of the 2 Koreas and unification. Korea, known for its expensive housing and luxury apartment complexes, Gangnam area has conservatively voted conservatives, and Taeo Ganghang, a consistory, has not elected a single candidate from the liberal faction since 2000, so about 20 years. Okay. Rival questioned Taehe's credentials, saying he lacked a connection and experience of liberal democracy as well as the district, which is home to the country's richest and tedious, and where emotions about real estate and the economy run high. I could probably see his point on that. In this article so far, this guy was saying South Korea is his home, but his whole family and everybody is still in North Korea. Just because you move somewhere does not mean you really get a new home. Yet, Tae appealed to voters by pledging to undergo extensive taxation, capitalization, and resident anger at President Moon Jae-hee's current real estate policy, which targets owners of expensive homes and of multi-homes. Yes, many Koreans, there's a good portion of Koreans who have more than one home. You know how it is. It takes money to make money. It takes real estate to get more real estate. Tae, 55, was the deputy ambassador of North Korea's embassy in London when he defected to South Korea with his wife and 2 sons in 2016 in search of freedom. He is one of the most senior North Korean diplomats to defect to date. Yeah, as I told you, this was the guy who was the Europe ambassador who defected. As a side note, when I worked in Korea in 2010, they had this defector come to the high school I was at, and he gave a speech to the students in Korean, so I didn't really get much. I got a little bit because my co-teachers that were Korean, they translated a little bit. But what I remember most, and I took a lot of pictures of him, was all the pictures he brought from his country he showed to the students. It was really remarkable. I will try to find some and make a small video of what he showed us that day for you guys to see later. Okay, Since his defection, Tae has heavily criticized North Korea's authoritarian regime under Kim Jong-un, as well as President Moon Jae-in's engagement policy with Pyongyang. When he decided to run for a parliamentary seat in February, he said his victory could bring the two Koreas closer in unification and could send positive signals about the democracy to the upper echelon of North Korea, of which he was part. I don't think you're part of that anymore. The upper echelon is kind of like saying upper society, upper class. Tae became the first North Korean defector to achieve victory in the election. Previously, Cho Mong-chul, a former professor at Pyongyang's Ki-Song University, was a member of the National Assembly from 2002 to 2016. But he was elected through proportional representation system. I'm not sure what that is, but I guess that's not voting. Meanwhile, another defector, Ji Sung-soo, who is known for his surprise appearances at President Donald Trump's 2008 State of the Union address, secured a seat through the proportional representative system. He ran as part of a Future Korea Party, a group affiliated with the main opposition. Since settling down here, Ji has campaigned for human rights in North Korea. All right, so now that we've read that, I really want to get into my thoughts on this. So just bear with me, and I will give you a few more facts and opinions and questions. But so far, hang in there. Okay, so I want to give my thoughts and a little background information on the two articles we just read. First off, if you remember last week, or if you didn't watch, there was an all-female party that was running in this election. They had two candidates. I made a video about it. It was an all-feminist party, and they were like, oh, we're not going to get any men's votes, but we don't care. But we read the results, and the two women running as the newly feminist party got to 0 of 2 seats, so they wiped out. Congratulations. I guess that is one positive thing about the election. For the record, Moon Jae-in, the president, I did see him live once. He came to Jeju when they had a holiday memorial for a political event that took place there years ago. But in 2017, he gave a speech at a university, so I got to see him in person. Okay. Another thing to take a note, one party takes over as a majority of the House, and they'll hold a presidency as well. So could the country move toward one party rule like a communist? Okay. So keep this in mind, like when Trump in America, when he won, he had control of the Congress, Senate, and presidency. Even though they are all Republican, he technically was an outsider, so most of the party hated him. They've got on board now, but he's lost control. But in this case, Moon has control of all, and he has enough in his house to change the Constitution or amend the Constitution to things that are like cement into law. So within the next 2 years, at least, until he runs for office and things could change, we might see substantial changes in the Korean government. So that could be good or bad. It really depends. How do you feel if there's a one-party rule? I myself have traveled around the world, and I've seen both two or more party versus one party, and honestly, to me, it really depends on the way things are applied. That's my opinion, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Korea's president is a one-term, 5-year timeline. Yeah, so 2022 is the next election. Yeah, so that's a little tidbit for you. In Korea, they go every 5 years. It's a one-term. So, like, this is the third president now that's run for office since I've known. Moon Jae-in got in office in around 2008, and then 2013, Ms. Park got in office, and then 2018, you had Moon Jae-in. Okay. Korea is allowed to have many parties. Yeah, so unlike America, we have really Republicans and Democrats. Some people will joke about the Greenpeace. But unlike Europe, Europe does have many parties. In Korea, you can have three, four, five, six, and some rise and some fall. So that's just a little more tidbit for you. Now, the two North Koreans win seats. I'm going to get back to this in a moment, but let me first give you one more tidbit. Korea, in the article, said that they lowered the voting age to 18. And so in Korea, you were 1 year old when you were born. That's kind of that way through most Asia. So that's basically saying you are 17, so you're not even necessarily a high school graduate. And so what do you think? Do you think that seniors in high school should be able to vote? Yes or no? Leave your opinion below. Now on to what I really wanted to talk about. How do you feel about non-born and in some cases non-citizens in government office? Okay, so I'm going to give an example. The Omar Hashar, that I guess a Muslim girl, whatever she is, she married somebody, her own brother, they say, to become an American citizen. So she really was not an American citizen. She was not born here. She did not study here. She did not know her art. She does not know her history or anything. But she got to one of the highest government offices in the land. Now, is that okay for foreigners to come in and run for office? If so, how high? Let me give another example. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he married the Kennedy girl. And so he actually could run for governor, but he could not run for Congress, Senate, or president. Some people were encouraging him to do that, but he was a foreigner even though he married. So I don't know if the law changed between then and now, but yeah, he couldn't go higher like Omar. But what do you think about that? Do you think it's okay? Like, you know, here's another example. A lot of people, a lot of candidates, they try to get the vote of non-local, non-citizens. In America's case, they'll say, we want illegal immigrants or aliens, whatever. We want them to vote. But so they'll start speaking in Spanish, and these people don't even know our history. They don't know our culture, but just vote for us. Vote for us. Are you okay with total strangers voting and dictating how your country should be run? And let me give you another classic example. If I am from America, but if I went down to Mexico, I could not vote no matter what. Even if I married and I had a child with a Mexican, they still would not let me vote. Most countries are like that. I'm not necessarily saying it's a loophole in America, but it's something that should be considered. Why does a total stranger have a right to dictate to you, the local, how your country should be ran? Again, how high? I mean, is this okay for if they run for mayor, if they run for governor, they're on city councils or school councils? Is that okay? But where would you leave the limit? That's what I would like to know from you. And lastly, do you vote? Why or why not? And have you ever thought about run for an office? Many people have a gripe with the country. Even if you ran for a governor or a president, I read this article once. This guy, he got his $10,000 check for signing up for the army, and he ran for, I don't know if it was president or governor, but it was one or the other. And most people were like just joking with him, like, "Oh, you wasted your money, blah blah blah." And in a way, he did, but he also said, "Guess what? I ran for office. I attempted to do it, but have you?" And they said no. So yeah, he didn't go far with it, but he could say that he did do something. And other people, try to find if you want to advocate for something, try to find the way to make the change. Don't rely on others to fix a change. Most people are looking out for their own self-interest, not for yours. If you're very passionate about something, make a path to get it done and progress your life. So anyway, so the questions I ask, leave your answers below. I'd love to hear from you. And hi. The small clip you saw was brought to you by Loyal World News. If you like what you saw, you should subscribe and look up my daily Loyal World News report for its full version. If you don't want to watch it on YouTube, prefer to be on the road, I also have a podcast in every full-length video I put up.